Hello. Hold on, my thinking. Hey, welcome back. I had a weird screen pop up there. Hey, welcome to SureFire Live tonight. Thank you for joining me. Got a nice little group of people joining us from the different platforms. We do go live to LinkedIn and YouTube and different Facebook pages and groups. So thank you for joining me tonight. This is a live conversation, so we ask questions, we talk, we say hello, and we talk about our wins and our losses on a weekly basis. So please be interactive if you can, and that makes for a better show, in my opinion. Tonight, I have a special guest, Sedgewick from Sedgewick from. Sorry about that, Rick. I know he's watching, and I'm totally butchering it. I better drink some more something. But he's joining us for NFI tonight. We're going to talk about NFI and his role there and what he does, and also some personal cool stuff he is doing. So also, I wanted to say that I'm excited this week. We did a thing with my chocolate company. We did a Christmas in July thing, and we had a lot of fun. We brought Santa out, and we brought a bunch of people out for kind of an early Christmas showing of what we sell at the chocolate shop, and it was a lot of fun. My daughter wanted to do this Christmas in July thing, and I was like, man, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how successful it's going to be. Seems like a lot of work for, I don't know if anybody's going to come. Well, we had a great turnout. We had Santa Claus, we had a DJ, we had a lot of people come out, and we had a snow machine that was blowing. It's kind of a type of foam, but man, that thing could crank out. If you guys ever need a snow machine for anything you have in your business for, for a parade or for, who knows, trade shows or whatever, it's like $50 on Amazon, and that thing works. It absolutely worked, and we had a lot of fun with it. So, in fact, you got to be careful because it can work too well. I mean, if you had it inside of the place, you better turn it down a minute. If it's outside of the parade or something, it could really work. But it was a lot of fun, and it worked great for us. Another thing, super excited about. I've gotten into racing lately, and the last couple of years, I got into F1 and IndyCar. And in Nashville, we had the Music City Grand Prix. So I'm excited to get to go to the Grand Prix race all weekend long, and for the IndyCar race. And that's a cool event. It's a kind of a neat networking event because I buy these tickets where you get to kind of sit with people and you get to know them, and it's always a good networking event. If you like IndyCar, Nashville is going to be hopping this weekend. So with that said, it's a little catch up. How you guys doing? I got a comment early. Let's see what's said. It said, "Hi, Mark. Hey, Josh. How are you tonight? Hope you're doing well." Josh got a little feel of the race car involvement I like. He was visiting, and he went out in the Corvette this last week, and I just did a little quick passing maneuver on the interstate, and he grabbed the sides of the car, and we got a little G-force going there. So great to have you with us. So with that said, let's bring on Rich. Hey, Rich, how are you, buddy?
Hey, Mark, how's it going?
Man, thank you so much for joining me tonight. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing well.
You came to visit us in Music City last week, I believe it was. It was the week before.
Man, was it that long ago? It seems like it was yesterday. Yeah. I've been traveling for a while, so I'm happy to be home. No, it was awesome. We've had 4 days in Nashville, 5 days, which nothing personal, Mark, but that's a little too long for me to be in Nashville.
I get it. Want to be around the house. And Nashville, I mean, depends on where you are in Nashville. Downtown, that place is happening.
We were downtown, but it was cool to see you and cool to see the chocolate store, man. I really wanted to see that. That was awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for bringing the family over. Nashville's kind of, that downtown area is kind of like Vegas, a couple days of it and you can check the box and go do something else, But so, man, thank you for joining me. I was I asked him to just talk about his role your role at NFI. And guys, he is the main man. And I think a lot of people maybe have some confusion between NFI and HPBA, and just talk about what your role is. And, why are you doing this? Where did you come from? And how did you get this job?
Yeah, awesome. Well, that's a lot to go through. I don't know. I might bore you guys to death with this stuff. But so NFI is an interesting path how I got there. I was in retail for a long time. Matter of fact, I started working my wife and I met in high school. We're high school sweethearts. And I started working for her father when I was 17, and he was a farmer. And he had a farm business, like a farm home garden business. Some of you might be familiar with it. It was a Southern States dealership, and they have them. All parts of the country have some sort of farm cooperative like that. So I was there in high school, and then through college, I worked part-time. I got out of college, I went to work full-time. And he was just a really hardworking man who built a retail business. It's almost 100 years old now.
Wow.
And so I started doing that early. And then in 2000, we had the opportunity to get a second location. And my brother-in-law was basically running the one store, and I was assisting him. And we went to a second location. And so I went to that location. So in 2000, we started. That store was a little bit more in an urban area. So still same mix, but we sold a lot of pet food and landscape material, lawn and garden. You know, tough retail world, though. I mean, it was, for you guys in retail, you know, we were open 362 days a year, open Sunday, 7 days a week. And it was brutal, but I enjoyed it. And in 98, I had met a guy named James Conyers, if you know him in the industry. He was a sales rep. I think he was working for Dale Kelly back then. Mm-hmm. If you know Dale, I know you know probably Josh. Yeah. And he said, you ever thought about selling pellet stoves? And so I had shown some interest and started selling a few stoves. So when we opened the new store, we went Fireplace kind of as a department, sort of like an Ace Hardware. So we had a big retail business with a Fireplace department, which was great. And I loved it. So I worked in that. And then I met Rick of Lejos, who hopefully most people know. We'll call him the stepson of NFI. I guess we'd have to go before him to start NFI, but he got me teaching some classes, some industry classes, and I really enjoyed it. And we became pretty well connected. And I guess it actually happened in Nashville, the HPBA show in Nashville. I bumped into Rick, and he said, hey, what are you up to? And I said, oh, you know, I'm teaching classes for you. You know how Rick is. You got to walk fast if you want to talk to him, because he's always on the move. And he goes, I said, what are you doing? He goes, I don't know, I forgot what he said, like 4 years and 32 days, and I'm retiring. I was like, oh man, that's crazy. Who are you going to get to do that crazy job? And he goes, are you interested? That was a joke. And I was like, well, I mean, I guess, but I have a business, you know. And so fast forward, just before COVID, we had a real estate offer on our second business and decided to get out, which the timing was phenomenal. Of course, did you know COVID was coming?
I did anyway. Yeah. You timed it perfect.
But we had an offer on the property that we couldn't sort of turn down, and we got out and pulled back to one store. So I was kind of a free man. So I reached out to Rick and said, hey, were you kidding? He goes, no, I wasn't kidding. So
wow.
I came to work for NFI in 2000 maybe. No, 2019, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, right before COVID.
Yeah, we swept the floor and turned the keys over like the 20th of July, and I started with NFI like the 21st of July. It was crazy. I didn't even take any time off. It was wild, but I love it, man. It's phenomenal. Well, so
tell everybody, in case they don't know what NFI is, tell everybody what NFI is.
So it's the National Fireplace Institute. Of course, we're known as NFI, but we're really the Hearth Patio Barbecue Education Foundation. So this is where some confusion comes in. Right. And NFI are the products and the certifications that we manage, but we sort of are a subsidiary under Hearth Patio Barbecue Education Foundation. And we are a sister organization to HPBA. A lot of people think we are HPBA. We have an affiliation agreement with HPBA, sort of like the local affiliates have. So we have an agreement between the two organizations. We share office space, and we share some expenses, some insurance and benefit type of stuff like that. But we're completely separate. We have our own bylaws. We have our own board of governors, and we're run independently. But we're very, very close organization. So we try and work together wherever we can. But we are a separate organization. But we're sort of the education arm of HPBA, if a lot of people want to look at it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
And you guys have a fantastic reputation about what you guys do, and it's a pretty hard test. Why should people be interested in NFI? Why should they get that certification, and how do they get it if they want that?
It's a good question. So, I've only been director for about 2 years now because Rick and I worked together for a couple of years before he calls it retired, but as most of you know, he's still there. He's not
He's a
very good at
worker.
retiring, so
Yeah.
he's only working part time, but he's still managing products. So, really, what NFI's intention is to train people on how to properly install and service the appliances in our industry. So,
Right.
gas fireplaces, pellet stove, wood stoves. We don't do the chimney maintenance and chimney inspecting and sweeping. That's what CSI does. So we're really on the appliance installation and service. So the product, we spend a lot of time and a lot of money updating and developing the product all the time. We use a company called PDRI. They help us stay on that course as a legally defensible certification. And, I think the reason our products are considered somewhat kind of tough, we're always updating them, bringing them forward. And we always use subject matters. We experts. We don't do any of it ourselves. We bring in, a lot of people, guys, actually have been subject matter experts for us lately. So we bring in experts. We help them, or they help us. I'm sorry, write exam questions, and we build new exams, and we try and make the product as good as we can. And we try and teach people what they need to know to safely install and service appliances. And as if you're putting fire in somebody's home, hopefully you're doing it the right way.
Better. Yeah.
That's the idea.
Yeah. It's very, there's a lot more ramifications if you do it wrong than there are if you do other services wrong. So, the PDRI group, that's, we kind of, CSI followed your lead on that, where you guys did PDRI first with that credentialing body, or the process that with the psychometricians and the subject matter experts and the development of the test and the upgrading. And CSI followed that same process in our certification, because you guys did a great job and kind of led the way in that. And we just kind of followed right along, because it's an excellent method to do that. Like you said, a defensible, you don't want to build something that is too, that the technicians can't defend themselves in court, but you have to have a standard that is good. You got to follow it to keep the public safe, but you can't make it like lawyer bait, and the lawyers can just pick apart, you didn't do, all the very little steps of, what it is. And so it's a very tough, that's a very tough standard to create, that's good for the industry and doesn't wreck the industry at the same time.
Yeah, it's tricky, no doubt about it, because you've been through the process. But the company we use, we love them. They really keep us on track with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting experience, and I'll throw it out there. We're always looking for subject matter experts, but when you actually try and develop questions and you go through that process, it is a difficult process. It's easy to come up with a question and an answer. It's hard to come up with 3 distractors that could make sense but are wrong.
It's so much more difficult than people realize. And when they say, well, you guys need to change this manual or write a new manual, man, that is a tough undertaking. It's to be, like you said, legally defensible, something that has credibility. It's not somebody just sitting in a room writing stuff. You have criteria that you have to follow from a third party saying this is good, this is bad, and you got to write 500 questions to have 100 good ones. Right? It's a very tough process, and
it is tough. It's fun though, and it's important. I feel for the technicians a little bit sometimes, because I don't know about you, but what I hear from them a lot is, man, the tests are hard. I'm not a good test taker, and that's kind of the catch in our industry. We have to test the knowledge somehow. And I wish I could go to everybody's business and watch them install a fireplace and say, okay, you're good, but it's not reasonable, and there's things we try to help with all the time. I mean, and taking tests is a skill, and it's probably not a skill the technicians had to use since it was in school, right?
And that's kind of always a problem. Blue collar guys, a lot of times are blue collar guys because they weren't great at test taking. They weren't great at studying in school. They were focused on other things. They like doing stuff with their hands, and they like building things and fixing things and problem solving. And it's not, but how else are you going to do it? I mean, you couldn't make a standard that you have to come install this fireplace in front of me to pass it. And you got to install all these fireplaces. Like, it's impossible standards. So you have to make it hard enough to be viable, but not too hard where there's just an elite group of people that have this credential. And that's a very tough balance. And some people try to lower the standard by making it easier and cheaper. And some people try to raise the standard by making it even harder. And there's there's an argument for each thing. And I think you guys have done a great job of kind of striking that balance. You've got a good amount of people that have it, but not everybody can get it. And that's the balance you strike. Is that a challenge for you, or is that's just your burden?
I mean, a lot of, again, Rick and Ben Weathersby, if you remember him, he kind of started everything going. They deserve a lot of credit. So with me being the executive director, I'm trying to keep the ship going in the right direction. They got the ship going this way, Mark, and I'm trying not to make a left turn. That's my big goal. But trying to put my impact on it a little bit too. But really, the product is really already pretty solid.
Yeah.
Proven
Well,
out.
as the executive director, what's your daily? What do you do? Like, what's your tasks?
So our team has grown. I mean, we're super fortunate. We got it's kind of funny, and I won't go into the story, but we've had a couple of board members. The board member who filled my seat, I was on the board before I got hired, actually came to work for us. And then the person who filled that seat came to work for us. It's crazy how it worked out. But we were able to get Amy Ryan, who was a president of HPBA a number of years back, and she's from California. She's from California. She was with a sweeping company, family business, and Mark Humphrey, who's in Colorado. So our team has grown. So really, for me, I'm just trying to get the projects done that we need to get done and make sure the right person is handling the right jobs. And then, of course, daily wise, our biggest thing is processing. And you probably have some experience with this, but our products and managing certification CEUs is complex, right? So nothing that anybody purchased from us happens automatically. Every time we get an order, at least 3 of my team members are touching that order. Yeah. Somebody's probably doing the shipping. Somebody's probably updating CEUs. Somebody's probably setting them up for an online test. So we do a lot of order processing during the day, and we share that as a team. That's one thing that I've done. We share it as a team, and we've cross-trained and we cover for each other, but we're really in touch with everything that goes on every day. So that's kind of the daily thing. And then the bigger projects we're working on, over time.
I think you hit on something that a lot of people don't realize is just the labor it takes for CEUs. For like two sides, that one, approving the CEUs for the course creator who makes it, and somebody's got to review that whole course, that summary. Is this worth it? Is it going to be that? Somebody's got to say, yes, we'll put our name on that. And then 2, when all these people take these tests and they want the CEUs applied to their certification number, there's somebody behind there making sure all those connect. And people don't realize how much work it is to create CEUs and keep that whole process up.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big thing, but fortunately we really have a phenomenal staff right now. I mean, I wish I could just talk about them the whole time, because really they make me look really good. I'm just trying to keep us going forward and in the right direction, which is fine. And obviously I dig into some of the financials and stuff like that. But you talk about CEUs, we have 5 certifications. So you can have people that either their dates are synced or their dates are different. They're expiring. They need to know their CEUs. They got to renew, and it's a lot. But the nice thing about it is important, and it's kind of interesting because we're sort of doing something different every day.
List your certifications for those who don't know all your certifications.
Right. So technically we have 5 exams with 4 certifications, because we have gas for the technician. We have gas, fireplace installation and service. That's our gas certification. We have wood and pellet. But for us, you have to also take a core knowledge exam. So you have to marry the core knowledge with one of the fuel types to get your first certification. So we have those 3 certifications, but 4 exams. Now, for people who are CSI certified, they actually have an exemption, and not a lot of people know about that. But we went through a study with PDRI. We studied the CSI exam and our core exam. And what we found was if somebody's already passed the CSIA exam, they know enough of our core material that we can make them exempt from that. It's just an application they fill out. So guys who are already CSI certified can skip the core and just go right to the fuel type. So that's something that happened a couple of years ago.
I thought that was brilliant. It makes a lot of sense because when we were writing tests for stuff, it's like we had to go back to, if you start certification, you got to, you're not trying to teach them the whole alphabet, you need them to know A through M. and then you're trying to go. And so every time, if you don't have that core idea, you got to try to teach the whole alphabet, but you've broken that out to that core, gives them the base knowledge. And then you add from that, and then, add in the CSI as kind of the core, meets that credential needs. That was a brilliant thing, and I love the way you guys built that out like that. It's smart.
Yeah, it worked great. We partnered with CSI on that. We shared the cost. It was actually, we went through the same study we do with any certification. We went through, with subject matter experts looking at all the questions. So it took about 6 months, but that's been very good. And then the other certification that we have is the Heart Design Specialist, and that thing has grown tremendously over the last couple of years. And that's really a certification designed for anybody in the company who's not actually working on the appliance. So, if you have an estimator, or if you have somebody who's a salesperson, you have somebody who's always on the phone talking to customers, it's designed to give them the technical information they need to sell a product correctly or talk to customers correctly. But we're not going to teach them how to convert a gas appliance, because they're not going to do that part of it. So it's technical, but it's not as deep a technical. Now, that's a very difficult, I won't say difficult, but that's a 100-question exam, a full manual, a 6-hour review. And it's quite a course. I've had quite a few of our MHPs, our Master Heart Professionals, take it because they want to have all certifications. And a lot of them say, wow, that wasn't easy. I was impressed by that. So they like that exam too. But
is that your newest exam, or your newest?
Yeah, I think that happened actually before I came on. I think the Heart Design Specialist came out either in 18 or 19. It was about the same time they split the core out. Yeah. But that's still in its first edition, but that's really, really grown in popularity, because we actually, HPBA has a women's mentoring program that's going on right now. That's a phenomenal program that I know some people with your organizations are involved in too. And so a lot of the ladies in the women mentoring program we've given them access to the Heart Design Specialist, and we get feedback on that all the time. Hey, I'm taking lead on projects. I'm more confident talking to customers. I don't have to ask my boss. So for anybody in the company, man, that's really one of our best products I think that we have.
And you then also have all your stuff online. You have an online training platform called Hearth, correct?
Yeah, so Hearth Online Training, yes.
Yeah. And so can you talk about that?
Sure. That's basically classes that we've taught over the years, that we've recorded a lot of classes from Expo, because we capture the video and the audio at Expo. And it's sessions, typically 1 hour to 1.5 hour sessions on that training platform. So if somebody has a subscription there, anything on there obviously qualifies for CEUs. So technicians will use that to accrue their CEUs for renewal, or a lot of companies just can use it as a training tool. I know it's similar to what you do. You guys have a similar training program, but yeah, that's our Hearth Online Training platform. So that is kind of subscription based. You can buy an individual class, but most people buy either an annual subscription or a company subscription, which would be 5 or 10 seats, and use that. And that's a wonderful product that's been just developed over the years, just by capturing so many classes. I think we have 430 classes in that online training platform right now.
And, again, that's kind of, SureFire does it slightly different. We develop classes differently and have a different thing, but it's all good, right? It all works. There's really almost no overlap. Because you have one doesn't mean you have the other, and they both can work really well. And you guys have done a great job with that. And it's so much, during COVID and all that online training just blew up, and people wanted to do something. And it's great that you guys had your setup. We had our setup, and a lot of people could stay trained during that craziness that just happened to us.
Yeah, that we didn't know was coming, but it changed the world, And credit to you guys, and credit to Rick. Rick really started focusing on getting things online for us, I think like in 2017, 2018. And then when COVID came, our exams were online, the training was online, the reviews were online. And so we weren't trying to play catch up. And I think you're the same, but the kind of that forward thinking mentality is important, because again, if we could transport back before COVID, I mean, could you imagine somebody saying, hey, I'm going to get with you on a Teams meeting tomorrow? You'd be like, I'm not getting on a Teams meeting. Call me on the phone. And now, now we hop on Teams like it's like, like we're changing clothes or something.
It's a phone call now. Yeah. I mean, I have so many Zoom meetings all the time now. It's just constant. I've been on 3 today. But got a couple questions here, a couple comments. Carl says, working on getting a couple of our guys NFI certified. And then Josh
That's awesome.
says,
We appreciate it.
yeah. Josh says, I like the CSI core exemption. He's been in the industry a long time. He just started with us up in Milwaukee, and maybe that's news to him. It's funny stuff we know. We know this has been that, and then other people don't know. I hate that. But you have to say things so many times. You feel like you don't want to bore everybody. But yeah, that's it. You got to keep mentioning stuff like that.
And the core exemption is awesome. It's super easy. It's on our website. I'm going to get this wrong, but I think it's just a $50 processing fee, and the application is downloadable, and you just fill it out and send it to us. And then we list you as core exempt. And then as soon as you pass the fuel type, you're NFI certified. So
yeah,
pretty easy process.
Got another person says, we flew out of New Orleans 3 years ago into an environment we'd never seen. At no fault of NFI, we had 3 certifications run out. After futile effort at working towards online hours, we just fell out. Is there any grace to look back that far? It is such a drag to think about retesting. I don't know that you have to answer that here.
Yeah, hey, let me speak to that, because to be honest with you, COVID, everything was crazy. So talking to New Orleans, I was at that New Orleans show, and I had to change my flight from Sunday to Saturday because the town of New Orleans shut down. That was the last trade show that happened. And
we were worried we weren't getting out of there.
The people from Freeman said, when we finally had another trade show in 2022, they said they hadn't worked a show since our New Orleans show. Like, the world shut down, and I was afraid I was going to get stuck in New Orleans because they had a big outbreak. But all right, back on topic. I'm sorry.
No, that's crazy.
We have a campaign right now, so I'm gonna ask you to get in touch with Amy Ryan, or I'll try and have Amy Ryan get in touch with you if you can send your info to Mark or to me, because we have kind of a little campaign we're working on called a We Want You Pack campaign that we're working on. And so we're trying to help people who have recently lost certification. We're trying to help them through some process of getting CEUs and see if we can work through that process a little bit. So
do you have Amy's info? Could I type it in the comments? Do you have
Yeah. So that's Ryan, RYAN, at NFIcertified.org.
NFIcertified.org. I just put that in the comment section, and yeah, that's great. I didn't even know you had that program. We
haven't actually rolled it out yet. So, but it's interesting because we want technicians to be trained and we want them to be certified. And we know sometimes through no fault of the technicians, maybe the email was going to the business owner and they didn't forward along and things happen. So, and every case is different. Like, if somebody who hasn't been certified for 5 years and hasn't been in the industry and hasn't taken any classes, of course, they have to retest. But if there's somebody who's been working in the industry, they've been gathering CEUs, they just missed the date, we're going to try and help them any way we can to try and get them back into the certification. Because it's, at the end of the day, it's good. It's good for the employee to be certified. It's better for the customer. It's better for everybody. So
yeah, I love that.
Figure that out.
Yeah, at CSI, one of our core things for several years is how do we become easier to do business with? You can come up with all these rules and policies, and then all of a sudden you just start excluding people and good people that are trying to do stuff, but they got a life to live, they got a business run, they got a family, they got COVID, they got all the things. Why are we being so hard? It's not helping the industry, it's not helping customers to exclude people. How do we be, without lowering our standards, how do we be more easy to do business with and more inclusive of people? So I love that you guys have that plan.
Yeah, we're it's funny you say that because we've been in the same mindset. We're really trying to figure it out. I mean, the world now, the companies that are successful in the world today are the companies that make things easy. And I sometimes scratch my head too. I'm like, why should this be so difficult? Yeah. You want to be certified. I want you to be certified. Let's figure it out. I mean, it's the customer wants you to be certified. The business owner wants you to be certified. We shouldn't be a fence here. Sure.
We can't make education too hard to get and too elusive when the world is trying to make education easier. Like, some universities are totally online and the things like that. So we have to follow along with technology and ease of use and more, just more intuitive. Got another question here. I felt like all my exams, CSIA and NFI, were not impossible, but they were an achievement. It's a good balance. Yeah, that's
awesome. I mean, it should mean something. Mark, you hit on that. It's got to mean something. It has to mean something. But, again, I really think that sometimes where technicians have difficulty is they just it's not a skill they possessed. They could put a transmission in my car, right? But to sit down and to focus your mind on an exam, on a multiple choice exam, takes a little practice. So we try and figure out ways to help people with that. We've got, quizzes and test questions, and they can always reach out to us. And I've had people who have failed a couple of times call me, and I'll go through their whole test with them and say, what were you thinking about this topic? And why were you thinking that way? And we talk through the topics, and then they go, oh, I see that. And then retake the test. It's not a skill that we possess once we get out of school, I don't think,
So on that, do you, I know CSI has the oral option for some people to take the test orally, to have a proctor read it. Do you guys have that?
We have some exemptions people can apply for if they have a necessity.
Okay.
So they're kind of a case by case. I think we have had that exception in the past. If somebody sort of has a reading, like maybe a dyslexia order, disorder, we can help them. We can have somebody, a proctor, read to them. So yeah, we have that. We try and manage anybody who wants to be certified. If they have something that's preventing them from taking a standard online test, they can reach out to us and we can get a system approved for them.
I think you guys were early on also a bilingual test, and didn't you go early on the Spanish version?
Yeah, we converted. We have all the versions available in Spanish, all the exams available in Spanish right now. We haven't had a lot of usage of that product. I think the customer is out there. We haven't really started to try and market or find the customer. But yeah, the testing platform, and again, I think you guys, or CSI, I should say, I think using the same testing platform we are.
Yeah.
The instructions for the exam can be converted to Spanish with just a click of the button, and then we have the exams in Spanish and English. So anybody who prefer to take the exam in Spanish, we can do that for sure. I think there's a segment of our industry that we need to try and reach out to and help them get trained. And I haven't quite been able to put my finger on how to reach out to them, but I think, it would provide opportunity for that employee and that owner. And
it's a little bit hidden because the owners have to know about it, then have to have the guys do it, and then understand the value of it. And at CSI, we looked at that too, and we could not figure out. It sounds like a good idea, but in action, getting people to come to it, I think it's one of those things, like, you guys are probably ahead of the game, and at some point it'll start to make more sense to have more people come, because again, educating everybody is the key. It's not, we of course want you to speak English, but in the meantime, let's also have you working and being effective and not putting people in danger and all those things. So let's see. It says, can I have a shirt in XL so when I knock on doors, I feel special? Sure. Yes, I think is the answer.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got t-shirts, we've got these golf shirts, we got any kind of shirt you want. But we also, for our certified guys, which is still real popular, I'd have to go get an example. We have patches too. So you get patches when you get certified, but you can always get extra patches from us if you need patches. A lot of guys like to put a patch on their company shirt.
Yep.
And they put the CSI patch on there.
A guy named JJ, and on my side it just says Facebook user, but a lot of times if I sign in my phone, I can see he likes he doesn't actually believe in certifications like you and I do, so he always has a comment. But he's a great guy, and he's a chimney masonry guy out of California. But and he likes
our marketing shirt like this. So I'll put it to you this way: this is just an NFI shirt. Of course, when I'm looking in the mirror, I'm doing this all wrong, but we don't require you to be certified to buy this shirt from us. So I could sell you this shirt. So if you have a shirt that says certified on it, then you have to be certified. But this, and
then on the other side, he could put "I'm special" right here, and then NFI.
We'll put whatever he wants on there.
That's great. Well, man, let's talk. Let's flip the script a little bit.
Oh man,
hold on. You know what I'm going to ask you about, but let's say one more thing. If somebody wants to get NFI certified, how do they do it?
For us, the certification is really built on the reference manual. So they can either get the package or just get the reference manual and read the manual. All of our questions.
And they get it at nficertified.org?
Yeah, they can go to our website. Yep, nficertified.org. There's a tab at the top that says purchase products, I believe it says.
Okay.
And all of our products are listed here. You can either get the manual as a manual, or you can get it bundled with the review and the exam. And that's really the first thing to do, is to really read. And I'm going to do air quotes for comprehension our manual, because a lot of people will read for entertainment, but when you're reading a manual, you need to read, and for yourself, you need to, at the end of the chapter, think about the main ideas, make a few notes, do an outline or something. You really got to go through our manual. And then we have a review class, which is either online or is offered in person occasionally in some areas. It just depends. And then you take the online exam. And so once you get the core and the gas, or the core and the pellet, or the core and whatever fuel type, then you're NFI certified. But it really starts with our reference manual.
Right.
So we have those in written or PDF, bound copies or PDF, however you prefer to do it. But yeah, that's the big thing. Of course, industry experience is going to help you. But as you know, with these type of certification programs, if you're good at digesting the manual, if you can comprehend what's in the manual, then you would be able to pass our test and become certified.
I think, a lot of people who have never tested and take these things, they think they know until they take this review and test. And almost everybody goes, nobody comes out of that and says, I didn't learn something. No. And when I started taking the test, I had been in the industry 17 years. And I thought I was pretty good. I mean, I never said I knew it all, but my gosh, when I started learning that, I didn't realize how much I didn't know. Now, clearly, this was back in, before the internet and all the YouTube and everything you can find out through these groups. But still, there is a world that you really don't know is there till you open the door of education and open your mind to like, hey, because I think one of the worst things that can happen to you as an adult is you think you know. When you think you know, that closes the door to being open for continuing your growth. When you say, yeah, I got all that, that's a door you just shut. The best idea, the best brain you can have is, I don't know. Teach me. Tell me something I don't know. I'm an open book. Help me understand. And I think for your case, people don't realize they start taking that test and you're like, whoa.
We get a lot of feedback on the core. It's called the core knowledge. And I would love to change the name at some point. I don't know where we'll go with it, because I think some people will associate the core with basic, but that's one of our harder exams. And the reason being is it's a lot. First of all, you may only have experience with gas, but in the core, we teach combustion principles and some safety, and we teach some things that apply to all fuel types. So you may get exposed to something you haven't seen in another fuel type. But a lot of people really understand the basics sometimes, the stages of combustion for wood burning, the air to fuel ratio in gas. And is it important? Some people will say to me, it actually is, especially when you're working on gas. Is it important that propane is heavier than natural gas, and why? And what's the ratio? And if this appliance isn't working right, it's because the ratio is off. But those are things you may not learn in the field that you really have to learn. But I'm with you. I think people who are highly successful are always eager to learn.
Yeah.
They're never that person that says, I already know. They're always eager to learn something.
This is a perfect quote. Almost 20 years in the industry, I've never taken a class without learning something, even retaking some same class later. Totally. I can't tell you how many times I've listened through Tim Reed or Alan Rush or even anybody, Jim Brewer, and a lot of these guys that teach a lot, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that, or I didn't know that, or need to reapply it. So I've never wasted a dollar on education, never once. Every time I've spent money on education, I get something from it. As long as I have that mindset that I'm going to get something from it.
Right. Well, you have that eager to learn mindset. Obviously, I mean, you're racing and you're making chocolate and you're skydiving. You're always eager to do something.
So speaking of eager to do something, I'm so fascinated by your hobby and how good you are at it. So we're going to flip this. And again, if you have questions for Rick, we got about 20 more minutes if we need the time, and please ask questions about NFI, but I'm going to flip it to what you do in your spare time. And you are into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu really heavily. I mean, you are a very accomplished person at this. So how did you get into that, and what are you doing with that? And have you ever used it in real life? Like, have you ever had to defend yourself?
That's a setup right there. So, you call jiu-jitsu a hobby. I guess you could say that, but it's kind of more of a lifestyle. It's kind of funny. because I'm still trying to convince you, because I think you're interested in
I am interested.
dipping your toe in yourself, but it somewhat takes over your life. So if I'm not working, I'm either trying to train, thinking about what I messed up the night before, thinking about what I want to learn in the next training, or watching what I eat. It kind of takes over your whole life. So for me, it's kind of interesting. I did martial arts for the majority of my life. Started as a kid. I did more traditional martial arts like Tang Sudo. The only famous Tang Sudo artist anybody will ever know is Chuck Norris. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So I studied that for a long time, and I taught for a long time, and I really enjoyed it. And in my 40s, I kind of fell out of love with it because it became a little monotonous, and I don't know. I just lost a little bit of a desire. So I got out for a little while, and a buddy of mine found me somewhere. We found me New Year's Eve. A guy I hadn't talked to in a long time, and he told me he was training jiu-jitsu, and he said, "Man, you want to come train jiu-jitsu?" And I said, "Man, I'm in my 40s, man. You're crazy, right? You know, you're out of your mind." He goes, No, come on." And it took him about a year to convince me, and I started training. And so I don't know about you, Mark, but for me, it's not about knowing how to defend yourself. It's not about all these cool things you can do. It's really about the physical nature of the sport itself, like the training.
Yeah.
Like I go do an hour class, or usually an hour and a half. I'm going to burn 1,100 calories because it's, you're grappling. So your anxiety's up, and you're being physical, and you're having to move your body in ways you never thought you would. So you burn a lot of calories, you exhaust yourself, and then the next day you just feel wonderful. I mean, that's what I'm really addicted to. The rest of it's kind of like icing on the cake, And
so I wrestled most of my life, and at the time when I was doing wrestling, there really wasn't another step for wrestling. You could go into coaching. If you were the top level wrestler, you could, do Olympics or do collegiate, and then it still wasn't any money, but maybe Olympics, you got some endorsements, but nothing much. And then, MMA came along, and jiu-jitsu came out of that, or actually it created MMA. But with that, now there's these other levels, and you and Tommy Nelms, his friend of mine, his whole family, you guys are getting into it, and it sparked my interest. But with that, you said, are you a brown belt at this? And
currently, so, I got about 9 years behind me.
You do?
Yeah. So it's been a while, man. Time flies when you're having fun. I'll put you that way.
So you like the process, really, and you like that it's kind of like, I'll tell you, the one thing about wrestling for me is it gave me another level of confidence to handle myself in certain situations. Like I just wouldn't be scared of a situation. If I had to grab hold of somebody or do something, I just wasn't afraid of it, because I knew I could take care of myself pretty well. It's not really a fight. It was more like a confidence. Do you have that? Do you find that to be?
I think so. I mean, it's interesting because people ask me this occasionally. Some people in my life, they'll ask me about, "Hey, show me something. I'm like, it's like a waste of time, because the interesting thing about, with yourself, like, let's say you're going to get into something happens where you're interacting with somebody, and
it's a little crispy out there.
It's a little crispy, right? So there's a thing, you're either trained or you're untrained. Just because somebody showed you how to do a move, when your adrenaline spikes, you can forget it. You're not thinking about anything. The only way you're going to do anything is if you've created a habit out of it. Yes. And that's what wrestlers do, right? Yeah, so totally. When a guy comes at you, you have the habit of either
underhook, overhook,
overhook, and you've drilled it, and you've drilled it, and you've drilled it. So your confidence comes from, if a guy tries to tackle you, you're probably going to guillotine him. Yeah. Or you're going to underhook him and flip him, because you've done it a million times. And I think that, to me, that's where jiu-jitsu gives you confidence. Like, I feel like, obviously there's some great fighters out there, and, somebody could come up and knock you right out, and that can happen. But most altercations at some point come into some sort of a grappling match or wrestling match. And, after 9 years, I've all different sizes and shapes and strengths and ages grappled thousands of times. So I feel like your body just will react, and you're going to wind up on top in a position you're comfortable with. And the person who's never done that, even though they may think they know what they're doing, because trust me, when you start in jiu-jitsu, everything you think you should do is wrong. And actually wrestlers struggle with this too. That's
Oh
why I'm
yeah.
trying to get you in the gym, because a wrestler will never give up his back, right?
You're right. And jiu-jitsu, you go right. You're totally comfortable on the back.
Well, some guys are comfortable on the back, but if a guy fights to not give up his back, normally what he does, he goes to what we call turtle. And in jiu-jitsu, if somebody knows how to handle you in turtle, you can be in a lot of trouble, because then he's on your back. You're not on your back, but he's on your back, which is even worse.
You're done. Rear naked choke.
But wrestlers are super good at jiu-jitsu because they're physically, some of their movements relate.
Yeah.
But
you understand balance and some of those things.
Power and speed, balance, and it's not really strength.
Yeah.
It's technique and how you move your body. So it's kind of the training of how to move your body. But man,
I love
it. We have a saying. It's called "enjoy the suck," because the training sucks, but for some reason you enjoy it. I mean, I don't know any other way to explain it. And
a lot of times, it's so funny how you can use their power against them. When we would wrestle or do somebody really overpowering, no problem. I mean, if they were overpowering, you just use that. You use leverage to get them to do something hard and flip the script on them, basically, and pivot them, because you could feel it when they're really coming at you hard. There's all kinds of things you can do comfortably to actually use their leverage against them, and that's where you don't really have to overpower people. It's really not ever that usually, because that exerts so much energy. But
I mean, you can, especially as you get older. I mean, I'm in this master brackets now in jiu-jitsu. So, but everything is not like two poles hitting each other for sure. But for yourself, to me, the key is you train, and it's not like you have to think about it. If somebody leans on you in a certain way, your body automatically moves. It just happens. It's like, it's a natural habit. But I tell you, some of these kids that are coming along now that I see that are starting to train from when they can walk, the things they can do is incredible, man. I kind of wish I had started like 50 years ago, but like to your point, you had to look really hard to find quality jiu-jitsu in this country, but now there's a lot of good jiu-jitsu around. So it's
Tommy
very popular.
Tommy Nelms's boy is really amazing. He's like one of those prodigy kids, and he got them all into it. But do you compete on that? Do you actually go? So you do master's level classes, and you?
So occasionally I do. It depends. I like to go to Worlds every year, because Master Worlds for old guys is the big tournament that's in Vegas. So that's, you're split out by a 5-year age bracket, and then weight, and then belt. So there's a lot of different brackets, but they've got retired MMA guys, professionals. I mean, you'll see who's a movie star who's really in jiu-jitsu, who's always posting stuff now. Oh my God, he was the Jewish mafia guy in Peaky Blinders. What's his name?
I don't know.
He competes all the time. He's going to be there. I mean, there's a lot of I think the guy who runs Facebook and all these guys are starting.
Zuckerberg. Yeah,
they'll all be there. So it's kind of a wild place. But I mean, that's bracketed by your 5-year age group and your weight and then your belt. So it gets pretty crazy.
Well, how good do you think you're going to do? I mean, I know I'm really setting you up, you don't know, but are you top tier, or you're like middle?
I don't know.
You're like, hey, I'm just happy to be there.
Man. I mean, you never know. Like I say, I mean, one of the Gracies could roll into your bracket. It's like, and heaven forbid, but I don't know. It's Tom Hardy. It's not really about that anyway. I mean, of course, who doesn't want to win, right?
Yeah.
But it's more about testing where you are in your training compared to other people from other parts of the country. Because when you're in a gym like my gym, I mean, there's a lot of guys in my gym, don't get me wrong, but I've gone, competed against all those guys at some point in time. Yeah. But when you go against somebody you don't know from California or Brazil or Italy, it's like, all right, let me see where I'm at. And that's what I use it for. Where am I at in my journey? Am I getting better? It's not really like, am I better than this guy? It's am I getting better? You know what I mean?
When I used to wrestle, it wasn't uncommon we get to state or other levels that two guys in the same weight class would go all the way together, because they, iron sharpens iron. And so you never know, when you're wrestling against that guy that's the next weight class up, a lot of times you guys are top level. You don't realize it till you hit a streak and just run through everybody, or you run into other guys that were better, and you're like, oh gosh. When I got into college, the first
either way, it's good learn. I mean, you learn more from your losses than you do from your wins. I'll tell you that. I mean, sometimes a guy will just destroy you, and you go back to the gym and talk to your professor and say, man, what happened? And he'll show you what happened, and you learn, and you don't lose that same way again.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how it is, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I just like
Love
the
it.
training, to be honest with you. I only like to do the one, maybe two competitions a year. Some guys train all the time and compete, but I'm, I got to get up and go to work the next day. You know, when you're in a competition, that adrenaline spikes.
Yeah.
Guys trying to heel hook you, and you don't want
go
to
it-
tap, and
to
then
me,
you
it
can't
was
walk
always
for 2 weeks. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, you can't walk, can't wipe your ass.
Yeah.
You're like, you let that arm bar go a little, that wrist lock go a little too long. Chad Murray says, I'm learning from my losses, LOL. So he, we all in business, you have the same thing, and you got to pick up. The guy said it was Tom Hardy, I think.
Yeah, Tom Hardy. Yeah, he's big. He's big into now. He's only a blue belt though, so
blue belt, you whip him.
No, he's a little heavier than I am anyway. I think so, but I'd like to see him and talk to him about this. We'll see if he's there. I'm sure he'll be there. He's always competing.
That's awesome.
But, it's fun, man. You know, it's kind of reminds me of business a little bit. Like, I think the first time I went through the martial arts process, I was really excited to get the black belt and be able to tell everybody it's a black belt. With jiu-jitsu, I just don't care. I'm more about like enjoying every day. Like sometimes you look towards that end result, and you miss all the wonderful things that happen in between there. It's more about the journey, man, for me.
Do you think I didn't realize you're a black belt on the other one. Do you think it helped you in this? Or do you just
no correlation whatsoever?
Wow, that's funny.
No correlation whatsoever. This is like 100% starting over.
Wow. So I got another question, another NFI question from me from one of the watchers. He says, for the techs that are already NFI certified, where would you guide them for further education?
So, I mean, a lot of guys that are already NFI certified, if they're looking to really achieve, we do have some classes online. We offer some in-person classes. I think some hands-on training that goes around the country, or trying to seek out, if they're looking for another certification, there's some other good certifications out there. Obviously, if they're already CSI and NFI, I always thought Fire was a really good certification. That's an intense school that you could go to. It really kind of depends on how much deeper they want to go. And is it specifically just gas they want to go deeper, or they just want to keep educating more? I mean, there's a lot of great education out there.
1 NFI certified. Again, there's 5 certifications inside NFI certified. So the first journey would be to get all the certifications that are relevant or that you want to kind of check that box. Yes, there's CSI, there's Fire, there's some others that are coming out or new. And I think most all education is good. I think there's some that are more established and kind of proven, and you should kind of get those base levels. And then, the problem is there's just not that many certifications unless you get into like something totally like a general contractor's license or different licensing. But in general, these are the core ones. You got to do that. And then again, I know NFI and CSIers are looking for help. So, if you want to develop courses and classes, join a committee.
Be an SME. The other thing that I think has been really enjoyable for me too is, maybe you're already an NFI MHP, like you said, you have all the certifications and you want more. Hey, maybe you want to start teaching. I mean, I think, you get to a point in the industry where giving back and teaching can be extremely rewarding.
Yeah.
You teach a group of technicians, you watch them be successful. So we're always looking for instructors. I know the local affiliates and CSIs they're always looking for instructors. So that's the thing. A lot of our instructors in our industry are not spring chickens, some of our great instructors. And so we need to start building that next generation of instructors too.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, again, it sounds like whoever asked that question has achieved a lot. And then the next level of achievement is actually reaching back and helping the next guy, helping the next generation. And in that, you actually learn a lot from teaching. You know this, but when you teach a class, you actually learn from that class a lot. Like I can tell you almost every time I talk and then you have interaction, somebody brings up something you learn from. So then, I think teaching is actually a great way to learn next level stuff.
I agree with you. I don't think I had a really deep understanding of a lot of things until I started teaching, because it forces you to have a little deeper understanding to be able to convey that to somebody else. And it actually builds your knowledge also. It just
Yeah.
gives you more confidence too.
Yeah. So, and also somebody to challenge you that may have a good point that you hadn't thought of, or a different angle on your teaching that helps you broaden your scope of general knowledge. So then the next follow-up question is there somewhere specific to go or someone to contact for information on becoming an NFI instructor?
So we actually have a link on our website if you're interested. If you go to our main homepage of our website, I believe it's under continuing education. There's actually a red link there that says become an NFI instructor. And so it opens up an application you fill out. And when you submit that, we get it. And then we review that. We put you on our list of available instructors for, if you have an event in that area, somebody's looking for an instructor, and then we give you some links for to be able to access reviews and stuff like that. We actually have a process for that. And if you can't find that link, just reach out to me. I'm just like Amy, except I'm Sedgewick at nficertified.org. I can help you find that application, but always looking for instructors for sure.
Yeah, those are great questions. We had some really good questions tonight. Man, well, that's my hour. I so appreciate you taking time away from your family and your thing. Oh, there's one more question. Chad says, sorry, I came in late. A complaint of NFI by many people I know say the NFI prep class that you pay for has a low pass rate on first-time test takers. Are you going to improve the prep class?
I'm assuming they're talking about the review class. So, this goes back to the psychometricians and a little bit of what you talked about earlier. So our review class is designed to review some topics in the manual that we think are more difficult to understand, but it's not really an exam prep class. It's not like an SAT prep class. It was never designed to be that. So to answer your question, probably not. We don't build the review class just based on the exam. Like, we don't take questions in the exam and make a review out of it. It's more of a manual review. Yeah, and believe me, I've heard that before, and we get some pushback from the psychometricians, and we've looked at that in depth. But what we don't want is for somebody to be able to take the prep class and pass the test. You need to study and digest and comprehend the manual to pass our exam. So the review class is just trying to hit some topics in the manual we think are more difficult. So
at CSI, we had the same problem because you can't make the review based on the test. A lot of times the people making the review can't even see the final test. The review is just a review of part of the manual. You can't make the review based on the test questions. And a lot of people would like you to do that because if you pass the review, you kind of know the questions. And unfortunately, the manual is the review, but it's a lot to go through. And even at SureFire, we couldn't see the final test, and we had to create what we thought was important reading every chapter, but we don't know if it's going to correlate to the test, because here's the other side of that, Chad. You don't know what test you're going to get. There's 300 to 500 test questions that have to be made. And then depending on the test, I think it's the same with NFI, depending on what test you get, A, B, C, D, or E, it has different levels of questions in there and kind of a mix. Is NFI the same? That's how CSI
we're not the same exact system as that, but similar. But it's actually the question's probably a little bit more basic than that. But the certification industry best practices. So all certification companies are going to mold kind of the same way. And that's what we use PDRI to keep us on track. But certification industry best practices do not want the review to be an exam prep. They want the manual and the review to be insulated away from the test that's being developed. And there's not supposed to be an interconnect or a correlation there. And that's exactly right. That's what is part of the process of making the certification legitimate, actually.
I think probably to his point, the thing we have to do better of is to help, and maybe you guys do, but I know that a lot of people take our review thinking that's the thing. If I can pass review, I'll pass the test. And we have to do a better job of not selling that too heavily. That it's not actually going. You should do both. You have to.
Yeah. And we do have something called the training program online for people who need maybe a little bit more. And basically the training program goes through the manual page by page. And it's basically almost like books on tape. Rick reads you through every topic in the manual if you think that that's what you need to help you digest. We have that product available before you take the test. But so that's what the review. Yeah.
Yeah, Chad, that's what he's saying. They do have that line by line, basically going through it. So that's a great question, Chad, and a great follow-up, Rick.
Yep.
Rich. Also, I keep calling you Rick because I'm used to talking
It's
to
all
Rick.
right.
I'm so
Not the
sorry.
worst thing I've been called today. So it's okay.
Stick with high standards. Don't lower the bar. You gotta want it. Work for it. I think it's a great way to close out. I think we both agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Striking that balance is the thing. But I'd always rather strike the balance a little higher than a little lower, and I think we all win from that. So, man, thank you for joining me tonight.
Yeah, man.
And
When are you going to come up and visit me, man? And we'll go to the gym. We'll get you a couple free trial classes.
I'm slightly scared of that. Where are you again? Where do you live?
I'm outside of DC, so I'm a little bit east of DC, not far from Annapolis.
My friend is, Chuck. I was just up there, so
yeah, I'm not far from Chuck. In same county, I think. Chuck's in Anne Arundel County, isn't he?
That's Chuck Roydhouse. Chuck Hall is south. I can't think of the
county. He's maybe in Northern Virginia.
Yeah, he's right in that area. I wish I was just there, but I would just follow the Uber. The Uber dropped me off. So, well, man, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your services industry and doing what you're doing and raising the bar and being so open. So we'll see. I know for sure I'm going to see you at HPBA, but hopefully I'll see you before that.
Sounds good, Mark. Thanks a lot.
All right, man. Thanks. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed our time with him. He, I've just recently gotten to know him. I really got to know him a lot more at the UBG event. We started talking and kind of became fast friends. And we both have the same heart for seeing people win and competing and trying to be the best we can be. So please reach out to those guys over there at NFI, and that whole team is really working to make the industry better. A couple more questions before I close the night out. Is the line-by-line review available on Hearth or a separate product for purchase? So I would have to, again, his email is Sedgewick, SEDGEWICK at NFI. Oh, golly, it's the same as Amy's NFI. He's still sitting. Rick, I know you're still sitting on I'm going to bring you back on if you don't mind. Hey, sorry about that. Can you answer that question?
Yeah, man. So my email is, there's no E, but that's okay. People make that mistake. It's SEDGWICK at NFIcertified.org. Yes. So the training program, it's called the training program. It's available the same place you would purchase any of our other products. It has its own category called training program. And when you purchase the training program from us, you get the manual and then you get a link and basically goes through the manual as an online. It's designed to be either taught online, which we have it, or it can be taught in person. And it's sort of like a 3.5, 4-day curriculum, sort of like a trade class. But it's online, recorded for you. And if any questions you have, just reach out to me by email or give me a call and I can get it to you. But it's available to purchase and you get the manual with it. It's kind of like books on tape. That's what it reminds me of. We're going to go through every topic in the manual page by page.
Yeah, well, that's good. Sorry, I was letting you go and then I pulled you back in.
Sorry, man. I hadn't left yet. I was listening to you.
All right, buddy. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
All right. And then Josh says, Rich, be careful for what you asked for. He may take you in the vet. So I think we got to about 110, 115, not too fast, just a little attention getter. And then, hey, sorry, just got in, been a busy day. Hey, no problem. Thank you guys so much for making me part of your evening. And you can always review this whole thing online. It stays on Facebook and you can always watch. In fact, that's where most of the people watch it. We normally have somewhere between 20 and 40 people watching, maybe 50 people at a time. And then on the replay, we get 400 to 500 replays. So most people do catch it after the show. But I love the people who make it part of the night and then they talk to us and they ask questions. And tonight we had some fantastic questions that actually helped us drill deeper on subjects and things that we need to make sure people know. So it's such an important part of this. And then got a nice little thanks, says awesome guys. Thanks guys. And then always here on Chimney World. Yeah, we always put this on Chimney World on the Facebook side. So, all right, guys, that's my night tonight. Next week, I don't think I can do it next week. We actually I can next Tuesday. I won't be able to the following week. So we'll be on next week too. And we're here for you guys. And thanks for joining us. And have a good night. See you later. Bye.